What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Hope everybody's having a great day or night whenever you're watching this. We're back with another pick 'em for the NFL this year, or this week, I should say. I've been absolutely trashed through the first 2 weeks. I'm batting like 50% right now on picking these games. Last week was even worse than week one, so don't take this as gospel. But I'm going to give you my picks and my reasoning why each team is going to win this week or why they're going to lose. All right, so with all that being said, let's get into it. Okay, to start the slate, we got the New Orleans Saints at the Carolina Panthers. I think the Panthers have been pretty bad this year, and the Saints were at least competitive last week against Tampa Bay. So I'm going to take the Saints in this one, even if Kamara doesn't play or not. I like the Saints defense too much to shut down the Panthers. Looks pretty obvious in my opinion. The Saints should win this game, but we'll see how that goes. I'm going Saints by a measure of like 13 plus. And then this game, the Texans at the Bears, is one that I'm super interested in because I think it's a battle of two teams that are kind of trying to find their ground and have been a little bit better than people have thought. Uh, I think this game is going to be largely determined by the running backs, Damian Pierce and David Montgomery. Whichever one has the bigger game, I think will lead their team to victory. I'm hoping Justin Fields kind of has a great game. I'm rooting for him as I always am. So I'm going to take the Bears by 3, but I think this is going to be one of those like 27-24 kind of games. I think it's going to be a close competitive game pretty much the whole way through. Then we got the Kansas City Chiefs, who have been a lot better than a lot of people have projected, and the Colts, who have been a lot worse than people have projected, myself included. Given that the Colts have looked as terrible as they have, most people are probably going to say the Chiefs in this game, but Michael Pittman is back. I guess Alec Pierce is back. So the Colts do have their receiving back intact, which is good to have, obviously, but it's still Patrick Mahomes. It's still a Chiefs team that's looked really solid through 2 games, especially defensively. They've looked really solid, which has been a surprise to me. So I'm going to say the Chiefs win this game in Indianapolis, putting them at 3-0. I do think this game will be relatively close. I'm going to say it's probably like 24-20, somewhere in there. I think Jonathan Taylor does have a pretty good game for the Colts, but the Colts have looked uninspiring. Darius Leonard, Shaquille Leonard, whatever you want to call him, still not back. So I'm going Chiefs. Then we got the Bills and the Dolphins, and this game is largely impossible to predict because the injury reports for both teams are pretty bad. The Bills are pretty much missing their entire secondary, and they're going up against a team that has a top 2 or 3 wide receiving duo in the entire NFL in the Dolphins. And then the Dolphins are missing. They're probably going to be missing their starting left tackle. He's questionable. Xavier Howard might not play, so they're missing a couple key pieces too. But Josh Allen has looked like an MVP this year. Stephon Diggs has been going crazy. Gabe Davis is supposed to be back from what I've seen. I think this game is going to be good. I think it's going to be good because I think the Dolphins offense will be able to keep up with the Bills. So I'm going to say this is probably like a 34-28 kind of game. I think it's kind of in that range. I'm taking the Bills though. Josh Allen's looked too damn great for me to go against him at this point. Yes, Tua did have one of the greatest games ever last week, but I'm going with Josh just because I trust the consistency more, and we'll see how it goes. That one is a tough game to predict just because of the injury report. Then we got another tough one to predict in the Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. Both teams that have looked, I think the Lions have looked better than the Vikings have this season. The Vikings are coming off a really bad loss to the Eagles where they looked just outplayed. And the Lions offense is high powered. It is high powered as can be. The Vikings defense struggled against a high powered offense in the Eagles last week. So I'm really curious to see how they cover up against Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift, TJ Hawkinson. Like there's so many good things going for the Lions right now. This one's super tough to me. I think this is gonna be really high scoring. I think this is gonna be like a 38-35 kind of game. So I'm gonna take the Lions to make this upset win right here. I do think the Vikings are gonna be close. I would not be surprised if they won, but I'm gonna go with the Lions. I love what I've seen from them thus far. So after a couple close games, in my opinion, now we get one I don't think is going to be close at all in the Ravens and the Patriots. I think the Ravens are way better than the Patriots this year. Patriots haven't looked good at all, in my opinion. Yes, they're 1-1, but it's a meh 1-1. Ravens lost in like pretty much the craziest way last week against the Dolphins, but I'm still taking them. I still think the Ravens will pull this out. I think they're going to win probably by 15 plus. I think it's a 2-score win. I think they're going to roll into victory on this one. The Patriots offense just has not looked that strong, so I'm taking the Ravens. Then we got the 0-2 Bengals versus the 1-1 Jets that no one would have predicted this would have been their record so far. I'm going to say the Bengals get off the schneid and win this game. They're going to be 1-2 after this. The Jets, while Garrett Wilson's looked awesome, Corey Davis has been making some plays, Elijah Moore's cool, Breece Hall has been doing good. It's just the Bengals just have too much talent, in my opinion, to go 0-3 and losing to the Jets. That's where you press the panic button for sure, is if they lose that game. I'm going to say the Bengals win this one by probably 15 plus. I think this isn't close. I think they have too much talent to let this game even be close. Then we get two more underwhelming teams. although one of them to me is not underwhelming because I didn't think they were going to be any good in the first place. The Raiders versus the Titans. I think the Raiders have played decent this year. They blew that lead last week. What the Titans have all year long so far. Yes, it is only 2 weeks, but they've looked like garbage both weeks. I think the Raiders pull this road win probably by 17 plus. I think that this Titans just don't have. They're missing pieces on the O line. Taylor Lewan's out for the year. Their secondary is inexperienced as can be. Their best pass rusher is out for the season. There's too much going against the Titans. And I think the Raiders know if they go 0-3, there's pretty much no chance of making the playoffs. I think you're going to get a really desperate win from them. And I'm taking them by a lot. I don't think this game's going to be close. Eagles and Commanders. The Commanders haven't looked that great this year. The Eagles have looked really, really impressive this year, in my opinion. The Commanders, while they did beat the Jags on a comeback win in week 1, got beat last week. Eagles dominated the Vikings. Who they play week 1? Played the Lions week 1. The defense didn't look great in week 1, but it looked great in week 2. So I'm taking the Eagles in this one by 7 plus. I think that Jalen Hurts should have another great game. The Commanders defense isn't that impressive, and it is Carson Wentz, so you might get one good half and one terrible half. But I'm taking Jalen Hurts in this one. I'm taking the Eagles by like 7 plus. And then we got the Jaguars and my Chargers. This one is really hard for me to predict because I don't even know if my quarterback's going to even play. And if my quarterback plays, I'm super comfortable in the Chargers winning this game. But if he doesn't play, then I don't really know. I don't know if Keenan Allen's playing. It doesn't look like J.C. Jackson's playing. There's a lot of bad news on the Chargers injury report. And the Jaguars are largely uninjured. And they've played really, really well for what people expected out of them this year. So this one, I'm gonna take my team just because I almost have to. But if Herbert plays, I'm 100% on it. If he doesn't play, I'm going to say that this game is a dogfight, like defenses putting on a show. That's one thing. The Chargers defense has been really good thus far, and the Jags haven't played a defense like the Chargers yet. And the Jaguars defense has been better too. I mean, they just shut out the Colts last week, but I just think that the Chargers should be able to pull this out. This is one of the games you can't lose if you're for real. So I'm going to say they win this one by, I'm going to say they win by 4, just because there's so many question marks right now. I don't know where it's going to go, especially with Herbert. We'll find out tomorrow, I'm sure. Then we get the Rams and the Cardinals have been terrible for 6 out of the 8 quarters they've played this year. And the Rams have not been impressive in pretty much 8 out of 8 quarters that they've played this year. Yes, they dominated a little bit in the beginning against the Falcons, but I'm not putting a lot of weight into that. They almost blew it to the Falcons. The Cardinals had a crazy comeback win last week against the Raiders. Maybe that gets their mojo going. But that being said, there's too much to go against. Last time we saw the Cardinals and Rams play, I was there in the audience, and the Cardinals got absolutely stifled. I'm thinking it's probably somewhat of the same story here. I'm going to take the Rams winning this one. I think it will be pretty high scoring, though, because both these defenses just aren't that great. Just put it simple. So I do think the Cardinals will put up some points. I think the Rams will put up some points. I think this is one of those 35-28 kind of games. We'll find out, though, because these teams have been so inconsistent thus far. It's too hard to predict for them. Taking the Rams, though. I'm just going to take them. Will not be surprised if the Cardinals pull this off. Then we get a battle of the bottom feeders with the Falcons and the Seahawks. And the Seahawks defense is good. I'll say that about them. Their offense is not very impressive at all. The Falcons offense has some players. Drake London's been really good. Kyle Pitts has been underperforming. Mariota's okay. Cordell Patterson kind of is the offense. The defense is okay. They gave up a lot of points last week. So this is one of those games where it's just like, honestly, if you're a fan of either team, you should probably be hoping you should lose because you're going to be fighting. These teams are probably going to be fighting for like the first pick in the draft or draft position at the end of the year. I'm going to say the Seahawks defense is able to pull this off and they're going to win like 13-10 or something like that. I don't think this game is going to be all that interesting, but I think it'll be a defensive battle. And speaking of defensive battles, I think the Packers and the Buccaneers is going to be a very defensive battle because both these offenses, one, the Packers offense just doesn't have a lot going on at receiver anyway. And the Buccaneers their O-line is ravaged. They're missing like their first like 3 receivers. There's just so many question marks with them. I think this is an Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon versus Leonard Fournette kind of game. I'm going to say that the Buccaneers do win this game. Barely. I think this is like a 9-6 kind of win. I don't think either team's going to put up a lot of points. I'm not impressed by either offense, but I think Fournette will have a good enough game. And I think this is like a 3-point game. Like neither team's getting over 15 as much, as these are 2 of the greatest quarterbacks ever. I don't see it happening. That's a bold prediction, but I'm going with that. Then we got the Niners, who had a really good bounce back win last week against the Denver Broncos, who have been pretty much garbage for 8 consecutive quarters of the entire season so far. I'm taking the Niners to pull this road win upset. I think the Niners should win this one by 10. The Broncos offense just has not looked good. Their defense has been okay. I'll say that for sure. But the Niners defense has been really good thus far. And now they kind of know what they're doing at quarterback. They're going to go into what they were doing last year with Jimmy G. Debo's going to be taking carries. You got Jeff Wilson at running back. George Kittle should be back. Brandon Ayuk. I just like the Niners more than the Broncos right now. The Broncos haven't impressed me at all, and I thought they would have by now. But as bad as they played last week against the Texans, and as bad as they played against the Seahawks, I have no confidence in them right now. Then we got the Cowboys and the Giants. This one would have been a little bit interesting if I think that actually no, I'm gonna say this game will be interesting. I think this game will be interesting just because the Cowboys did look okay in the beginning of last week's game, and their defense did look really good, which was nice to see. Micah Parsons was making plays all over the field, which I didn't have them winning last week, but I said if they were going to win, he was going to be the biggest reason why. I'm kind of correct on that. I'll take my half W right there. The Giants are 2-0 though, and they're 2-0 when no one would predict that. I wouldn't have predicted that. Saquon's been amazing. Danny Dimes has been all right. He hasn't cost them any games yet. Their defense has been solid. I think that's been really what's holding them up right now. This game is going to be like a 16-13 kind of game, and either team will win that way. It's literally a toss-up in my opinion. I'll say that the Giants pull this off because their coaching has been really good so far. Their defense has been solid, and it's just I trust their offense a tad bit more than I trust the Cowboys right now. So those are my week 3 pick'ems. What do you think? What do you love? What do you hate? Probably all of them. Let's see if I do better than 50% for the first time this season. That would be awesome. But anywho, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And if you enjoy this kind of content, please like the video. I really, really appreciate it. But there's my pick'ems. I can't wait to come back to this on Tuesday and see that I was like 2 for 10 or something like that. I'm sure that's probably what it's going to end up being like. Anyway, I'm done. Thank you for watching. Peace.